Hello and welcome to the Farmhouse. I'm Stephanie Spiker.
And I'm Candace Grzybalski.
And this week, I had the honor of talking to Wendy Powers, who is the brand new Dean of the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources at the University of Maryland. And she happens to be the first woman to hold that role as well. So Wendy has worked kind of all throughout the country at different universities. She recently was at Washington State University, and she's been at plenty of other places in the past. I'll go over the whole list at some point later. But she just started at University of Maryland in July, and as the new semester's kicking off, I thought it would be a great time to talk to her and learn more about who she is. So, Candace, I would love to know, before you were working here at Lancaster Farming, because as many of you all know, neither Candace and I had an ag background, really, like a heavy ag background.
No background in ag at all. Yeah.
Before you were working here, were you familiar with extension programs?
No, I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, that surprises me only because your Nana's so into gardening.
I know.
That I would have thought the master gardeners might have come up at some point.
I don't even know if she is a master gardener. She is the kind of person who might look at that and be like, I don't need that. I'm good enough as it is.
That's fair. Well, since Wendy is a big part of land-grant universities, which is where extension programs come from, I just was curious because her and I talk a little bit about people not having heard of extension. So for our listeners, just think to yourself, when did you know extension existed? Have you always known? Did you not know until this podcast? Let's get Wendy into the farmhouse and we will learn much more about what she's doing at the University of Maryland and about land grants in general. Wendy, welcome to the farmhouse. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I'm thrilled to be here.
So you have done quite a lot within the realm of higher education, specifically in the ag field. So what led you down that path? Did you grow up farming?
Interestingly, I did not. I'm a city kid, and I had no plans to go into agriculture. I think my family members still wonder how that happened, but it was really the experience I had going to college and getting to know people who had come from agricultural backgrounds and seeing what the opportunities were that moved me into this field. And it's been phenomenal.
Was education always something that you were interested in?
No, I wasn't interested in education either. That just happened. So it's really fascinating. I always think how amazing it is when you leave doors open, which ones you end up going through. So education was not part of my plan either.
Wow. So you really just kind of found your way into a role. That's very cool.
Yes.
So your role specifically as Dean of University of Maryland's College of Agriculture and Natural Resources took effect officially a few months ago on July 1st. So as this kind of new fall semester gets going and you are really settling into your new role, what are some things you're really looking forward to as a Terrapin?
First and foremost is meeting people and really getting to understand the programs, the people, the places. And so I've spent the last couple of months doing a fair bit of traveling, mostly focused on meeting people internally. But through the fall semester, of course, we've got students coming back next week. I'll be shifting some focus to really getting to know our students, what they're hoping to achieve, and then doing some external meet and greets around the state through the month of September and getting to know who our partners are, who our stakeholders are, and hearing from them about how we can work together more closely to help them achieve their goals.
Yeah. So, when I was looking into your background, I couldn't help but notice that pretty much every school you've ever been a part of is a land-grant university. I mean, you studied at Cornell University of Florida. You worked at Iowa State, Michigan State, University of California, Washington State, and of course now Maryland. And unless I'm wrong, in my research, I think all of those are land grants. So did something specifically draw you into land-grant universities? And what was that?
Well, I'm not sure that it drew me in initially, but certainly it's what's held my appeal. And I am tremendously loyal to the land-grant mission. Because when I look at the work that we do in the land-grant colleges, we are making a difference every day. Our faculty, our staff, they don't go home wondering if they made a difference. They go home wondering how they can make a bigger difference tomorrow. And it's that connection with our communities, that co-creation of solutions to community-based problems that is such a draw to me, and why I think I will always be in the land grant system for my career.
So, for any of our listeners who maybe aren't as familiar with what a land grant university is, can you just explain a little bit, like, the importance of them?
Sure. Key to the land grant system is a partnership between the federal government, the state government, and local communities. And that's what makes it a little bit different than other public universities or private universities. And much of that revolves around extension, which is a community-based partnership between federal, state, and local communities. Extension, cooperative extension, as it's called in some states, is really that co-creation space with the local communities. And we have extension faculty that are on campus, but we have extension distributed throughout the state. It's in every county in Maryland and in every county in most states, not all, but most. And so that's a really key element of a land grant system, but also is the Ag Experiment Station. And so here in Maryland, we have 4 primary research and extension centers. They're in 8 different locations, but that too is a federal state partnership in really conducting applied research, that problem solving research, and taking the discovery that happens typically on the campus, implementing it out in the field in partnership with those communities to solve problems. So those are the 2 key things that differentiate a land grant from a public university.
All right. I did actually, I went to Penn State, so I'm very familiar with like the land grant and extension system, but I feel like it surprises me sometimes. I talk to people and they have never heard of extension or like using any county extension resources. And I'm like, wait, really? Like you can learn cooking things, you can learn gardening things, you can there's so much resources just throughout extension. So it's always a little surprising to me when people aren't familiar with it.
Growing up as a city kid, I wasn't familiar with extension either, but yet extension is in urban areas. As you said, the Master Gardener program, very well known. 4-H, which is a youth development program through extension, is the largest youth development program in the country, and most people don't know about it. So you're right, it is the best kept secret, and something that I hope we can change soon, because amazing things come through extension.
Yeah, absolutely. So thinking back a little bit to all the different schools I named that you either attended or worked at, they're all pretty spread out over the U.S. So in your experience, kind of living all over the country and working all over the country, is the ag industry and community fairly similar across the nation, or do you see a lot of regional differences?
I do see some regional differences, and part of it is the diversity within the state. California boasts being the most diverse agricultural economy, and that's probably true. Washington and Michigan are probably in the top 2 and 3, but Maryland too is very diverse, much like Pennsylvania. And if you think about it, Maryland, you've got sandy shores on the east, and you've got the valley on the west, and in between, with agriculture being the largest economic driver for the state, it is highly diverse across the state. And so while the scale may be different than California and other states, the importance of agriculture and natural resources to the state of Maryland is really unparalleled compared to other states.
So throughout your years in education, are there any kind of research efforts and projects that really have stood out to you, like over all the years, that there's one in the back of your mind that's like, oh, I'll never forget that one?
One thing that really struck me, I was meeting with a grower yesterday, and we were just in informal conversation, and he commented about the work that's been going on in soil health all across the country. And this has been a prominent topic in any state. And it was interesting to hear him say that the cover cropping work that's been adopted in Maryland has really made a difference in Maryland, and particularly now where we're starting to hear about dust storms again in a number of states. That cover cropping practice has made a huge difference, and it has been so widely accepted in some states that I'm hopeful we're not going to hear about dust storms in every state. And it's an opportunity for the farming community and for even urban areas to really think about what practices we're implementing, what science we have to back it up, and really encourage more adoption of things. So that would be an area that I think we've made tremendous difference, and we can still see that impact and that opportunity to continue.
Yeah, I definitely remember. I grew up in pretty rural Pennsylvania, and I remember as a kid, over the winter and after things were harvested, it's just everything was kind of bare fields, and now as I drive around after harvest season, you almost never actually see a bare empty field anymore because, right, as you said, cover crops have been so widely accepted, in my region and obviously in other regions as well. So it's cool to see that it's making a big difference.
Yes.
So you've pretty much worked with college-age students your whole life. Is there any maybe misconceptions about the younger generation that you wish people would kind of get cleared up for them?
Well, I won't necessarily address misconceptions, but I'll share my perception.
Mm-hmm.
And that is that our youth today are committed to solving some of the biggest problems. And the approaches they take may be something different than what we used. They may be more interested in a work-life balance, which is something I think we've probably heard, but I don't think they're any less committed to making a difference. And so I think there's some opportunities here where we can really lean in and meet their needs and help them be successful. The students of today, I think they do face different challenges than what I would have faced when I went through school. And I think there's a questioning of whether or not higher education is worth it given the cost. But at the same time, I think we've got an opportunity to prepare them in ways that I certainly wasn't prepared to go out and tackle the challenges. And that's by working in this transdisciplinary mode where we have disciplines from across colleges coming together to educate our students, and big focus on experiential hands-on learning. And I think we can prepare them in ways that maybe we weren't prepared. So I don't know what everyone's perceptions are or what misconceptions there might be about the youth of today, but I'll tell you, I'm just impressed every time I meet our students by how much they've accomplished, how much they've overcome, and where they want to be going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. So in the past on this podcast, we've talked about how young women really seem to be taking on more leadership roles in ag, specifically in the more like youth organizations like FFA and 4-H. Throughout your career in ag education, have you seen that to be true as well, that there's a lot of young women kind of stepping into leadership roles than in the past?
I do see that. In fact, I believe I'm the first female dean for the University of Maryland College of Ag and Natural Resources, and I was at Washington State as well. So I think there's just tremendous opportunities, and we're seeing the proportion of our students higher female ratios there in many of our programs. And so it lends itself to them taking on the leadership roles, and there's just tremendous opportunities and encouragement for that.
Yeah, that's kind of what we've been hearing, across the board. So that's very exciting. And I actually didn't realize that you were the first woman dean at Maryland. So that's awesome for the College of Ag. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So speaking of University of Maryland, is there anything kind of coming up in any, extension research or projects or anything that you're really excited about or want more people to know about?
Yeah, well, as you know, Stephanie, I'm still learning,
Yeah.
and I'll be in that learning mode for quite some time. But again, I'm really impressed with what we have going on in the college. I learned just the other day that we have a new breeding program for grains, and we've just released some new varieties for wheat and triticale. From that breeding program, I hadn't even thought about Maryland being a wheat growing state, having come from Washington State. But to know that we're releasing varieties that have done very well across the US and Canada, and we expect great things to come from that. Is pretty exciting. In addition, we have a brand new supersized greenhouse for an aquaponics program. And that program is bringing people from across multiple colleges, engineering, agriculture as well, to really think about aquaponics as a way forward in agriculture. That's very exciting. It's also a hands-on opportunity for students. We actually have our largest class coming in this year for the college. And so
wow.
We're super excited about that as well. Animal science is one of our fastest growing majors. And they have their largest class ever. So there's so much going on, whether it's the research, the extension, or the academic programs area. New fermentation major. This will be our second class coming in for that major. And it's a new approach where we're looking at agricultural byproducts as well as food fermentation. Again, in response to meeting employer needs. And a great work opportunity for students who may have never thought about that as a career. So lots of things going on. I can't wait to keep learning more about the college and all the great things.
Yeah, that's exciting. And having a new semester starting, I'm sure is just, there's probably a lot of buzz around campus right now. So that's always a fun time.
Yes, always.
So we always wrap up with the same question for every guest. So that one is, what does being a woman in ag mean to you?
I have to think about that one because I don't really think of myself, I don't think of it as being a woman in ag. I've been in ag for so long. But, maybe it's a combination of being female, maybe it's a combination of being a city kid. But I think it's a great opportunity for me to show others that there is a path forward. And I'm really committed to helping others who maybe didn't grow up in agriculture, don't have that background, figure out their path to an amazing career in agriculture and natural resources. And perhaps tied to that is being female. But I think it's an opportunity to really demonstrate to people that you too can do this.
Yeah, I love that. That's awesome. Well, Wendy, thank you so much for coming on and joining me at the farmhouse and talking to me. And I'm excited to see all the kind of new cool things that come out of University of Maryland while you're at the helm of the Ag College.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I hope we get to talk again soon.
It was wonderful hearing from Wendy, and, congratulations to her being the first woman who's the dean of the College of Ag there. That's a fantastic accomplishment. I really liked hearing her talk about the fact that she doesn't have a background in ag, as we were kind of mentioning. We come from similar backgrounds in the intro. We've heard from plenty of people on this podcast who are now working in agriculture, but they don't come from an ag background. And when we ask them, well, how did you get here? They say that they fell in love with it when they were in college. And I like that because, we fret a lot here about where the next generation of farmers is coming from. We mentioned that stat that the average age of a farmer in the United States is what? It's like almost 65 or something like
50,
that.
At least 58. It might be into the 60s by now.
It's coming on retirement age. And I know that farmers don't necessarily retire when they hit 65, but it is an aging population. And so there is a concern that we need to be able to replace these workers. But, maybe we don't need to worry as much because maybe the next generation of farmers, while I'm sure some of them are already on the farm because they were born into this life, some of them have yet to maybe discover the fact that they're going to be farmers because they just haven't had the opportunity yet to experience this world. And they might find that when they go to college. And I just thought it was really nice how, she's now in a position where she can provide a similar experience for the students that are going to be coming to her college. Like she said, it's about opening doors to people who, didn't think that they could do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you know when you were in college that you were going to have a career related to ag?
No, I went into college knowing I wanted to go into journalism. I had wanted to be a journalist genuinely since I was in middle school because I've always loved writing. And it was well, how how do I turn writing into a career? Because I'm probably not going to be the next, novelist of the world.
Don't sell yourself short.
So it's like, how do I make this legitimate? And so I knew about journalism, but I didn't really know where I wanted to end up. Like, I didn't necessarily, I don't know, did I want to just do like beat reporting at a daily? I actually thought about sports at one point because I'm such a huge sports fan. But it was really when I went to Penn State, they have, at least when I was in school, I would assume it's still the same. They had a rule that if you had a major within the College of Communications, you were required to have a minor outside of the College of Communications. So I didn't know what I wanted my minor to be going into it. I knew I wanted to major in journalism. I had no idea outside of that. So I literally was just like scrolling through a long list of minors at Penn State. And my goodness, there are a lot of them.
I'm sure.
And one of the first ones, because they were listed alphabetically, was agricultural communications, which is in the College of Ag. So it fits that rule. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Like, let me look over what's required for this. And, there's a lot of overlap with what I was already studying. And then some more specific classes related to ag. And, I grew up in a rural area and I just thought that'd be really interesting. And it would be, I don't know, like I just thought it would fit well with what I was already studying. And so I decided to do that minor. And because I was like, well, I feel like I really need to learn more about ag in general. So I used a lot of my gen eds to take more ag specific classes as well, like ag economics and like stuff like that. That's like not at all required for my minor. But I was like, well, this would probably help me at some point. And it has. So
it all worked out. Yeah. And hopefully they will help, potential future farmers or people who are in the ag sphere. I was also thinking about this when Wendy was talking, and I was thinking about how, whenever we talk about our experiences speaking with kids that are in FFA or 4-H or like the dairy princesses, we talk about how driven and how well-spoken they are. And, they're on top of things in a way that I certainly wasn't when I was their age. And I don't think I'm alone in feeling at times stressed and concerned about the direction the world is going in, but it gives me hope that there are young people coming up who, like Wendy kind of mentioned, like they're on top of the ball, like they're ready to tackle these new challenges that we're all kind of facing. And I'm so impressed. It gives me hope. But that kind of brings me to a question I have for you, Steph. Okay. And this is a very lighthearted question. So I just mentioned the dairy princesses, right? We were at Ag Progress Days a few weeks ago, and they were not the only princesses there. There was also a maple princess, and I believe the Rabbit Breeders Association's princesses were there as well. Mm-hmm. There are so many princesses. I honestly probably don't know how many princesses there are out there.
Oh, yeah, because there's also, I didn't see her this year, but I've seen her there in the past. A honey princess has been at the event before.
Gosh.
So yeah, there's a lot.
If you could be a princess of any like ag association, what would you be? Who would you like to represent?
So the very first thing that popped into my head, and I just have to roll with it.
I know exactly what it is.
The potato princess.
I brought this up today because I too may be a potato princess. So in my garden this year, I've grown a lot of potatoes and I've been harvesting them kind of week over week. And I made French fries out of some potatoes that I had harvested last night. And my family, they love these. They love these French fries, and they love the fact that we have all these potatoes coming in. And I've talked about, the dairy princesses and the maple princess and blah, blah, blah. And so my husband was like, honey, he's like, maybe you could become a potato princess. He's like, I'm not sure what the age restriction is. And then I was sitting there thinking like, oh, this would be fun to talk about with Steph on the podcast. And I was like, oh, but wait, Steph is also going to run for potato princess.
I would love it. Well, see, here's the most of these associations have a full court, right? Mm-hmm. So there's more than one.
Yeah. Maybe because I'm older, I could be like potato grand dame.
The queen, the potato queen.
Potato queen.
Should I send an email to my contact at the PA Potato Growers Cooperative to be like, we have an idea for you?
Please do.
Oh,
Please
man.
do. My backup is maybe Onion Princess. I don't grow onions, but I really like them a lot. So, and I feel like there probably isn't an Onion Princess out there. So I'm here waiting in the wings.
Just in case
Give
it's
me my
ever
crown.
needed.
All right. I think that wraps it up for us.
Yeah. We'll leave you guys with that.
We two princesses. Thank you all for listening. If you liked this episode, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. If you really like this episode, please consider leaving us a review. You can tell us what kind of princess you'd like to be.
If you have any questions or thoughts about the episode or the podcast, or you really do want to share your princess preferences with us, you can email us at farmhouse@lancasterfarming.com.
You can also find us on social media at Lancaster Farming on most platforms.
Thank you again for listening and visiting us at the farmhouse. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Candace.
We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
This episode of The Farmhouse is copyright 2025 by Lancaster Farming Newspaper, part of the Steinman Communications family.
It was written by Stephanie Spiker and Candace Wierzbowski. It was produced by Eric Herlock. It was mixed by Justin Berger. Music by Tim Bird's Shadow.